Hello, and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Another book to review. I'm using a new camera, so bear with my learning how to use it. The other one died on me, creating a small problem in my video production system. Anyways, I've been investigating channeling. Jane Roberts channeling Seth. Lee Carroll channeling Cryon. J.Z. Knight channeling Ramtha. What is the message from these beings channeled from the invisible reality? Throughout history there have been prophets. And Jesus said to the Pharisees and the Jews 2,000 years ago, "Ye are the killers of your prophets." Apparently, Jesus, his spiritual entity, that many of us believe was the Messiah, Son of God, was sent from the heaven world to teach mankind. And Jesus added a commandment to love one another. But apparently that upset the Pharisees and the leader of the Jewish people 2,000 years ago, a little less. And it's biblical in the story. But they had Pontius Pilate, the leader of the Romans, arrest Jesus and have him crucified. And apparently Jesus rose 3 days after he was put in a tomb, hung around for 60 days to teach additional information with the disciples and the people, and then ascended to heaven. And many other stories, Muhammad being a divine prophet for the people, the Arabs in the Middle East, creating the Islamic religion, beings from the other side with the Hindu religion, the Buddhist religion, many religions, shamans taking ayahuasca, peyote, opium, going into trances to communicate with the other side. And today many people are into this channeled material, part of metaphysics beyond physics. What's the story they have to tell us? Should we believe it? Why do they want to destroy Christianity? Why do they want to have people believe that Jesus was just a myth? Lots of whys. I realize this is a tough conversation. When people go, "Rick, your series is Freemasonry, Satanism, conspiracies, UFOs, aliens, Kabbalah, Zionism, communism. So much more. 9/11, World War I, World War II, religious history, psychic research. All that stuff and more I've investigated, read books on, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. What the heck is going on in our reality? So continuing that line of investigation that I started recently, because of the information I was observing in the David Wilcock, Corey Good videos about Antarctica, even when during the recent presidential election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, John Kerry and many other dignitaries, people from all over the world, were making quick trips to Antarctica. Why? What's going on in this world? What is this teaching? What is the Kabbalah? What is Jewish mysticism? What is witchcraft? What are all these secret societies that put their hand on a Bible and swear under threat of death, having their throats cut if they divulge the secrets to the rest of us? What's with initiation? What's with the Illuminati? Rosicrucianism? Witchcraft? So much more. The satanic symbolism, even in the tunnel opening over there in the Swiss Alps. Very bizarre. Look it up. beings with horns. Katy Perry, Madonna, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, Allende Grande over there in Britain. All these satanic rituals, all these satanic lyrics in songs, themes and TV programming. What are we to think? So I've been going over the channeled material, trying to get an educated opinion and see if there's any common denominators in the teachings. And I am discovering there is. They are saying that we humans, we're the creators. We create realities, like it says here. Ramtha says, by J.Z. Knight, this material, that some of us, we believe in some old man on a throne. Mean old guy called God. They said, she says, or he says, Ramtha, he's masculine and J.Z. Knight is a woman. That she says, or he says, that we created this God that we have now. And if we created him, we can uncreate him. Because we're God. And because we're God, we can manifest our own reality. And that the planet, apparently, is evolving. And some Palladian beings have come here to help us. According to Barbara Marciniak, they were here ancient times and messed up when they were trying to alter humanity, and they've returned, according to Barbara Marciniak, to fix their problem, to make amends for their own spiritual sake. So lots of crazy things. Even when Barbara Marciniak channels the Palladians or Esther Hicks, they say things like, "We are here. We see that the pixies are here, the Palladians are here, the angels are here, and so many other types of beings." So what are we talking about? What's with Jewish mysticism? What's with the Kabbalah, the Zohar, the Talmud, stuff in the Bible, all the Egyptian hieroglyphics? What is the common denominator? So I read from these books on channeling, and I think I'm picking up some clues. So I hope you appreciate this research, and leave a comment if you have anything to add, things you might disagree with in a polite manner, and things you would agree with, and let's continue the discussion. So what do these channeled entities have to teach? Is it important to question that? I was looking at some books here I have. The Astrological Secrets of the Hebrew Sages. Rabbi Joel Dubin. For the first time, the sources of astrology have been investigated in their original languages. The author, equipped with a knowledge of Hebrew, Aramaic, and the Jewish wisdom traditions, brings this unique expertise to bear in unveiling astrology as practiced by the ancient Hebrews. Should be an interesting conversation. I'm using a new camera, so bear with me. The Book of Splendor, the Zohar, another Jewish book. Basic readings from the Kabbalah. So what does the Kabbalah teach? Is it the same material that's channeled by the entities? Cryon, Seth, Abraham, and so many others. Said that, Lee Carroll. It's a fascinating investigation, so I've been finding out, and sharing on my videos. The 9 Gates to the Chasidic Mysteries. I got to get used to this camera. The gates to the empire of the Chassidim never open suddenly. But he who can look inside, will never forget the riches he has seen. Here are the mystical realities of the Chassidic cult, as it was before 2 world wars. Scattered its adherents across half the earth, as it can never be again. I've got lots of stuff to read. Zohar, the Book of Splendor, basic readings from the Kabbalah, another one. The mystic tales from the Kabbalah. What is mysticism? What is witchcraft? What are the magicians? What are the magi? Who are these channelers? Who are the prophets of past ages? Who was Edgar Cayce communicating with? According to Cryon on Lee Carroll's material, who apparently even channeled before the United Nations 3 times, this is no small thing. The dynamic new religion, believe it or not, the vital new creed that unites all faiths, offers a new way to peace of mind in today's troubled world. Well, from the way I understand it, back in the 1910, 1920s, when they had congressional hearings on a couple issues, one was communism, and one was called the Jewish problem, as Henry Ford, the automaker, wrote about in the newspaper he purchased, to get the word out, because he realized all the other newspapers were owned and controlled by the invisible hand, the secret societies. The one that President John Kennedy warned us about, saying in his famous speech, "Secret societies are repugnant to the American way of life, and I intend to expose them." Of course, he was assassinated after that. Like I said, then you got Rosicrucianism, which apparently are the people responsible for putting the Georgia Guidestones in Georgia, USA, with words on them that they want a world population of 500 million. So apparently somebody wants to depopulate the planet. I've got books about that. I've made videos on that. I suppose with all these advanced technologies, they just don't need all the people anymore. A couple hundred years ago, when America was declared its independence from Britain, we didn't have a Republican Party or a Democratic Party. We had a Mason Party and an anti-Mason Party. Get this book. Letters on Freemasonry by President John Quincy Adams. The Mason Party, apparently, according to my research so far, was a Luciferian, maybe even satanic cult, if you will, versus the anti-Mason Party, which were fundamentally Protestants and even Catholic Christians. So it was the Christians against the anti-Christians. And later on, they gave us the Democrats and Republicans, the conservatives against the liberals, which was designed to keep the elites, the business owners, the powerful people that be, at odds with labor. Keep us all divided, confused. So I thought I'd read some from the Ramtha material, make a video. Do they teach the same thing that's in the Shama material, the way of the Shama? I've been watching some Ramtha videos. I've been taking notes. And reading lots of other books over the years. wheels of life, the chakra system, communicating with higher beings, holistic healing, which I'm not opposed to a lot of psychic research, psychic abilities, but I'd like a little truth in the program. Who is the Masonic Party, anti-Masonic Party? Who controls the Republicans and Democrats? Who did 9/11? Who's spraying chemicals in the sky today? Using all kinds of weapons, biological, weather control, terrorism, propaganda, symbolism, astral doorways, Initiation, Human and Solar by Alice Bailey, one of the people who inherited the Theosophist Society, who created the Lucifer Publishing Company, later on called Lucas Publishing Company, and also published the Lucifer magazine. Didn't we just say that was the religion of the Freemasons and other secret societies? What are we talking about here? What is alchemy? This stuff goes way back. Look at some of the pictures. So what is going on? Jewish mysticism, Kabbalism, Rosicrucians, Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, a general for the South during the war between the North and the South, the Confederate War. He was channeling some entities. Aleister Crowley, the Book of the Law, known as the evilest man alive, channeling Hiawas and Lamb. Apparently material, some people say, is straight from the devil. Jesus even taught you need to test the spirits. And I'm not opposed to all shamanism activities or using a pendulum to find water, lost people, determine the quality of water, vitamins, people's health. I'm not opposed to advanced knowledge. But when it's kept secret, like the secret societies, Freemasonry, etc., and their initiates, their recruits, have to swear on a Bible not to share that information with the rest of us that they call profane, under threat of death. Well, I just went for a walk and got a phone call from a friend of mine in Key West, Florida. I was watching a Dane Wigington video today, current one, and Dane seems to be exclaiming that things are pretty dire indeed on planet Earth. And the chemtrails, the stuff dumped in the sky, along with many other nefarious activities, is very damaging, detrimental to the rest of us. We're under attack, and I've been saying that for a while. But anyways, I sent him that video from Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org today, and he just called me. And he asked me if I was paying attention to the Planet Nibiru, Planet X, the Destroyer, Herculaneum stuff that I've been making videos on also. This is series number 123. I've been investigating everything. And he says even a NASA leak and lots of scientists and photographs are available, so I need to look into it. But he says this thing is imminent, and he's a business owner in Key West. I'm a business owner here in the mountains of North Carolina. And he says he's was going to call me anyways. He thinks he might have to get out of there quick, get away from the coast, Because apparently, according to the propaganda, or what is really going on, is it true? That when this Planet X, Nibiru, the Destroyer, comes by Earth, and it's supposed to be over near Jupiter right now, heading this way, that the planet's going to tilt on its axis. Of course, that would spill all the water, tsunamis, tidal waves, earthquakes. And I live in the mountains of North Carolina because I couldn't take the chemtrailing in Florida. When they actually were spraying very heavy, I would get serious asthma attacks. And I did try to go to Maine, and I bought some property, and I noticed they were spraying in Maine. And there were people protesting and serious tattoos all over their body and metal body piercings. I realized the propaganda was everywhere. There's nowhere to hide. So anyways, plus Maine was too cold, the place where I grew up. So I settled for an area halfway between in a high elevation here in the mountains of North Carolina, which a lot of people have done because of the material out there that's telling people that something big is about to happen. So my friend from Key West called me, told me his thoughts, and I told him I would look up some current information on Planet Nibiru. I haven't been following it because recently I've been focused on this channeling material, trying to figure out what they're teaching or preaching, and so many followers all over the world are going for the New Age, and it's no small thing. Another book I got here is, I made 108 series, None Dare Call It a Conspiracy. So there's plenty of material out there. This is series number 104 I made. So what is going on? So I'm going to read from the Ramtha material as channeled by J.Z. Knight. See what you think. And are they spraying chemicals in your sky where you live today? Have you been following Planet X? The politics going on? The bizarre last election? Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? The Podesta affair? Pizzagate? Spirit cooking? There's stuff coming out about missing children everywhere. All these satanic rituals we all see. Quite bizarre. Nobody wants to believe it. So let me read from the Ramtha book. All right. I'm going to start out with this conversation in chapter 3, page 178. I'm not trying to do an audiobook. So if you find this fascinating and you want to investigate, there are many Ramtha videos on YouTube. And Jane Roberts channeling Seth, Esther Hicks channeling Abraham, and so many more. Natalie Glasson, I just made the video with her on the Cryon Part 2. Lee Carroll channeling Cryon, even before the United Nations 3 times. So the United Nations is listening to these people channeling these entities from the other side. And some of these entities from the other side are also telling about this Planet X, Anunnaki, pole shifting, like Nancy Leader with the Zeta talk. And she even has maps on her website where the world's going to be flooded, what states and countries are going to disappear. What the heck are we dealing with? Alright, I'm going to read from the Ramtha material. 455,000 years ago, approximately here on this timeline, something wonderful happened right here on the first plane. The beings that while you were still up here on the 7th level were already descending. So some beings were descending. I had a little chart here, if I can find it. that showed about the different levels or the different planes of existence. All right, I found it. But you can see here on this chart, this pyramid I drew. So apparently, when we were created as spiritual beings, our wavelength, the frequency which we operated at, was this wide. And as you leave that level of creation and descend, the next level, the next dimension, if you will, next plane of existence, the frequency which you operate is longer. And as you continue to descend and evolve as a created entity, a spiritual being, your reality that you operate in is a longer frequency. And down here on the planet Earth, you can see the frequency is really long. That would be the dense reality we live in. So we can't see beings on these upper planes because their operational frequency is shorter and shorter. So when you descend as you evolve, and then when you get initiated or illuminated, apparently you ascend back to the spiritual level, which according to a lot of this channeled material, is a lot of people or a lot of these entities are saying that we're stuck in this dimension. And part of the goal to be illuminated is to ascend out of here. So when I talk about this, that's what they're talking about. I'm using a new camera until I get another one to replace my camera I've been using. So this may not be as good as it should be, but to me it's better than nothing. You see, no one descended at the same time. Everyone went differently. So apparently we as spiritual beings weren't created at the same time. We humans are probably relatively new, according to this material, that the other beings were created millions of years ago and they have descended and evolved, and then they have ascended to be gods, according to the way we would describe them, according to this material. And the other channeled material. So you got to watch a few of these videos if you want to try to pick up on the train of thought, what they're teaching. It's no easy task. You have to read the Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky, Isis Unveiled, Morals and Dogma, the Kabbalah, Rosicrucian material, and so much more. But if you pay attention and do it long enough, you start to get it. And most of us, we all have heard of the New Age and the New World Order and the intentional congressional testimonies with the congressional hearings in 1910, 1920s on a couple of issues, the Jewish problem and the communists planning on infiltrate every aspect of our society to discredit Christianity, destroy it, and the way of life as we know it. You see, no one descended at the same time. Everyone went differently. And yet it was up to each one of you to create this. You still have beings today that are alive and well on the fifth plane. So I showed you the different planes, the different frequency levels that we operate on. And we can only see in our window of the light spectrum. So apparently there are different planes of existence all around us that we can't see. Unless you're a shaman or somebody goes into yoga or meditation or remote viewing, the people who work for the government leaving their bodies, they describe this other world. So what are these channeled entities preaching and teaching to so many people all over the planet that are embracing it? I want to try to get some of this reading done from this book, Ramtha, channeled by J.Z. Knight. I've been watching some other videos today. Wednesday, July 12th on the Zeta Talk. And I noticed that Nancy Lieder has a book published, so I'll have to get that and make a book review about Nancy Lieder's book, Zeta Talk. So here we go. Perhaps in the next 200 years, they will make their way down here. These are the spiritual beings who are not as old or advanced as we humans are, and we are fairly young compared to many other beings who are millions of years old that apparently interacted with humans according to this material, and that we call gods according to this material. Perhaps they will never come. So maybe beings who have reached a certain level, not as far as we have, may never reach the same plane of existence that we have. How far will humans go? How many humans will advance? And how many will not? Crazy questions. But that is all they have known. Some of you have called them angels. You called them that because they have an utter innocence about this place. They have no judgment, no good and bad. Here we go. They understand it not. They only understand love. But they have never lived here. They have never been a Christ because they have never embodied God in flesh and blood. While you were about here at the 4th plane, not down to the 7th plane where we are, I guess the 7th plane would be at the top and we're at the 1st plane from our reality. Gets a little confusing. When you were about here, 4th plane, we already had entities that had come down here billions and billions of years ago, who were on this timeline in this 3-dimensional matter, vibrating at the 8.2 hertz, that had already moved down to this timeline. So I guess depending on the plane of existence you're in, the background vibration would be different. The more you move down the plane from creation, apparently, the longer is the vibrational wavelength. And the more you move back towards Source, the Creator, the wavelengths get shorter. Funny thing, when you do read the Secret Doctrine, Theophist Society, Hermetic material, Rosicrucian material, Kabbalah material, you seem to see some similarities in this creationism philosophy. And that's what I'm trying to dig up here, is understand it, because most of us just understand the religions we grew up with, or no religions at all these days for a lot of people. Trying to find out this religion of this new age. Is there something called Satanism and Luciferianism? And is it as evil as it seems to be? Now when they moved down here, these other beings, 1st plane, they got past this point here, 3rd plane. They were building a spiritual reality that was moving way up here to the 4th plane. In other words, their reality was happening this fast. 4th plane time. So, they're at this wavelength. And maybe we're at this wavelength. And we were created, it was a very short wavelength, very infinite speed. How many of you understand? This is, again, a teaching from J.Z. Knight speaking through the being channeling Ramtha. So they went on down this way and started gradually getting brighter and brighter, and they exist about here, the 4th plane. They are your brothers and sisters. So Ramtha is saying these other beings that are not as advanced as we are, or beings that are advanced further than we are our brothers and sisters. They live on various different planets, and most of them live on the interior of those planets, since all orbiting orbs are hollow. Here we go with the hollow Earth theory. They surpassed you now. 455,000 years ago, every one of you in this room came up against this timeline, first plane. You finally got this far, where we are on Earth now. So how far were you? Well, you knew you were male and female. You would cohabitate for the sake of bearing young. The females were dominant in the tribes, since they were that which is termed the cultural leaders. So back in historic times, this channeled entity Ramtha were saying the females were in charge. The males provided for food for the family. We had sort of a moral household. So I'm making a point here with a statement from Ramtha. Back then when the women were in charge and the men had to hunt for food, there was a sort of a moral household. Is that indicating or insinuating that now that the men in charge of the planet, some people say, that we don't have a moral household? At this particular point, this group of entities called the gods, they came back. They came down here and they realized you need a little help. And with that which as far as you had advanced, you hadn't advanced very far. So what did they do? They mercifully interacted in your timeline of evolution. Now about here, first plane, you possessed a small brain. Large facial features, like a Neanderthal caveman. This small brain ended up being the reptilian brain, the midbrain, up to the corpus callosum. So in other words, the brain that was contained right here did not contain the yellow brain of the neocortex, the brains we have today. At this point in your evolution, you were very psychic. You could send messages far and wide because your brain operated in infrared, which is called the psychic realm. But you had a primitive brain. So I thought about that, with the animals, like birds who leave the mountains of here in North Carolina in the winter and go to the south. And then they come back and they come back to the same exact spot. Apparently, animals are psychic and have a more interesting psychic ability than many humans. But I suppose if humans can advance and learn, we have the abilities to have those psychic abilities. These entities came back, took you, and commingled their seed with yours. So they bred into your body their experiences. Well, this sounds a little familiar. Zachariah Stitchins, Nibiru, the Anunnaki, Barbara Marciniak and her material that I've been going over, saying that the Palladians came here many thousands of years ago, interacted with the human race. So what is it? The Palladians? The Anunnaki? The Watchers? The Archons? Lots of confusing, conflicting information. Or are they talking about the same beings, just different people call them different names? Again, I'm trying to put this stuff together so it makes sense to me. Remember, and again we're talking about Ramtha teaching here, channeled by J.Z. Knight. Remember, I asked you, how many of you wore your parents' identity as well as their emotional identity? And many of you raised your hands. When these elected beings finished commingling with all of you, you drastically changed as a culture. Thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years ago, some beings interacted with humans. So says Zechariah Stitchin, Nibiru, and the Anunnaki. And so says Barbara Marciniak in her material, The Palladian Keys to the Living Library, and her other book I've been going over, the videos I've made. Not only did you start to lose body hair, but you gained in proportional height. Your skeleton changed. You lost 2 ribs and gained an enormous brain. Your facial features became less defined than the over-exaggerated humanoid facial features, like a caveman. So, a question I have is J.Z. Knight, you can go see her videos on YouTube, and she probably has a website, channeling Ramtha. Is this invisible entity, this being channeled by this psychic, by this medium, is he sharing this information with humanity? Or has J.Z. Knight read it in the Secret Doctrine, the Kabbalah, and other secret society books and pretending to channel this material? I think that's a fair enough question. Now, why did they do this? Because they are your brothers and sisters. They are gods from the same source who are ahead of you in evolution. So is this all a propaganda, a deception, part of the New Age, the New World Order? They also used you as servants, which would make a great amount of logic, since your capacity for evolutionary knowledge had not been gained since you were only at this timeline here. So apparently these beings, the gods, helped humanity evolve by commingling with the humans, mixing their DNA with our DNA, so humans could advance. So this stuff says. You didn't know all that they knew. So what were your tasks? Your tasks were to commingle, cohabitate, and to live with them. Now isn't that funny, like in the Bible or the book of Enoch? The watchers, the angels sent by God to monitor and assist mankind, found the women fair, mated with them, and apparently it made God angry and had to punish them. Angels were cast out of heaven. And apparently during the Atlantean period, the mixing of the angelic blood DNA with human DNA even created kinds of crazy animals and beasts. And even in the Middle East, when apparently the Hebrews were going to the Promised Land after leaving Egypt, there were Nephilim there, giants, who were the offspring of the watchers, the angels, and humans. Giants. Lots of common denominators here, but getting a good handle on the picture is a bit tedious. You have to watch a few videos, read a few books, make some charts. They in turn taught you psychology. They taught you art. They taught you mathematics, astronomy. It was they who imbued you with a sense of culture, and moreover a sense of that which is termed dynamic self. But how great were you? You had a large neocortex, large but barely used, because of the experience that it took to give you that genetic body. As a spirit, you had not lived. So it would be as if your children were walking around in their parents' clothing. The clothing fits, but it is still a child who is exhibiting itself in the body. Is that what they're saying humans are today? We're still children in these biological bodies, which have a much higher ability or greater capacity. A lot of talk about ascension. A lot of talk about earth changes. A lot of talk about earth destruction. Planet Nibiru. How many of you understand? Now, when this happened, it happened 55,000 years ago. 455,000 years ago. Would you write that down? Not really happy with this camera, but it works to make a video. Now, those gods who became the legends of biblical text created your bodies, created my body, interacted, and went about their life. What did it do for all of us? What it did was that it brought us to 455,000 years ago in a holding pattern on the timeline. In other words, what do you call today in your Julian calendar? 2017. According to that calendar, it has been past the year, it is past the year 2000. So where are you 2,000 years from this point? You haven't changed because you are in a holding pattern. So you have been reincarnating over and over and over again, coming back with the same amount of spiritual growth as you left behind in this last lifetime. And what is that to say? That humanity leveled off 40,000 years ago, and the cranium of the human being from 40,000 years ago to today hasn't changed. So it means that as a spiritual people, you keep reincarnating into a genetic line that you have yet to use all of its machinery. So again, apparently, we humans only use 10% of our brains. We don't use much of our psychic abilities. A lot of us use intuitive instincts. We don't even know we use it. You might be walking down a street and all of a sudden freeze. And if you look down, you might have almost stepped on a rattlesnake. Or looked the other way and jumped back just as a car was going to hit you. So our spiritual self is aware and can interact with this biological human body. Stuff that I've learned. Now this seems that this introduction to be very tedious. So that's what Ramtha is saying about this material I'm talking about now. And I'm only reading a few pages that I've selected after reading a couple chapters. Just to throw an introduction to hear about Ramtha. I will be making more videos on many of these channeled entities and to see what they're saying. But it can be somewhat interesting when you begin to understand where your roots go back to. And it is important for you to understand this before you go on and start creating reality. So apparently if you get initiated or you get educated to be illuminated, you can create or manifest your own reality. You can make yourself rich. Heal yourself. You need some answers to your questions. You don't use all of your brain. You use less than 1/10 of it. Less than 1/10 of the massive neocortex means that there is a great deal of potential that you have never actualized. Even Einstein, when he perished, when he died, had not used all of his brain. Had not mapped that which is termed new ideas and new theories, and fell short of that which is termed developing the discovery of new mathematics to describe what he was seeing in a unified vision. Page 182. So if then you are a spiritual being, who is actually behind your nature, it would then begin to make a great deal of logic to you that the laziness inside of you and the impatience inside of you is a primitive spirit in a very advanced body. So are they talking about soul growth? You have to educate and grow your spirit. And these bodies are much advanced. I guess that would be like using a brand new high-tech laptop and trying to run some software that you had purchased 20 years ago. Does that make logic to you? Because the genius is among you, and all that a genius is one who expands the borders of its mind, and that mind is everything. If we understand that the reason you haven't evolved a great deal in 10.5 million years is because you're still back 455,000 years ago, and the body leveled off about 40,000 years ago. And you have yet to use the capacity of your body. You have yet to develop your spiritual self that it can operate this body as a fine-tuned instrument of God. Now, what did this do? What did you do this last lifetime? Sorry about my reading today. Sometimes I gotta focus. Were you in the technical revolution? Did you die in World War II? Was your home bombed? So if we are reincarnated, what happened in our previous lifetimes? Did you die of famine in Ireland? Did you die of the plague? How many children did you have, and where are they today? What did you contribute last lifetime? Can't remember. In this life, and why you came here to learn, how do I live to the greatest of my spiritual potential, thereby using my body to its greatest potential? And do you have gods in your genes? Indeed you do. Do you have an advanced intelligence that you are carrying around with you? Indeed you do. This is Ramtha channeling through JZ Knight. Are you the children of a superior race? Many of them. But the race itself is only as great as the intelligence that created it, and that, of course, comes back to God, the dreamer of all origins. At this time, the reason that you are unhappy with your life is because you are at the end of your ability to dream reality. You let everything do it for you. You go to the motion pictures. You let someone else act out an adventure while you stand by and watch. You listen to someone else sing you a melody while your mouth stays quiet. You swoon at someone else's poetry. You marvel at someone else's artwork. You let someone else's genius plug for you, for convenience. Is it any wonder that you are bored and that you need entertainment because it is not coming out of you? If you are God's, and you most certainly are, again, Ramtha talking here, and if consciousness and energy creates the nature of reality, perhaps the problem that we have here is the inability to believe in oneself, of its capability. And perhaps you have inherited that gene through your parents. Most parents never believed that they were greater than the stock in which they came from. So here is what you have been doing for 40,000 years. You have had this consciousness out here swinging violently back and forth. How fickle are you? Do one moment you approve and the next moment you disapprove? Is one moment is one moment you like and the next moment you don't like? And what about your future? What future? Oh, that future. Again, I'm reading from Ramtha's channeled material. Isn't your future just more of thinking about your past? Well, if that is so, then your future is stuck back there. And so this, that someone told you that this no longer existed, that this was out there. When the gods left, they went to heaven and they left you here. And you believed that. And so believe, being the creator of reality, put to bed this God within, and put the God of your choice out there. So she's saying, get rid of any God you think about and get the God of your choice. Or I should say, Ramtha he, through JZ Knight she. What about Jehovah? Jehovah is nothing more than an advanced entity who was highly insecure and warlike, who hated his sister. I didn't know that about Jehovah. How about the Lord God Id, ID? What was the Lord God Id? They were gods, beings, people that had problems just like you are having problems. But somewhere, they told you that they were Lord and somehow got it mixed up with what Lord meant. So these beings who were older than we are, that we called God, and now people call him the Creator, Jehovah, whatever, according to this teaching, we humans got it mixed up. And so God, that you are supposed to line up with, created a dream, gave it to, and then moved off of that dream so it can manifest in energy. That imagination coagulates energy. That is what brings an experience. You're stuck because you think it is out there instead of in here. So for 40,000 years you have been doing this thing every lifetime. And what does that mean? That means that you have gone to school, you have learned everything that culture had to give you, and you are bored. And you have nothing else to contribute because you don't know how to dream the dream. Line it up, collapse time, bring it back, and have energy collapsed into visual form, and then experience it. So I guess she's saying that's how you create your own reality. So now we have this going on, which needs to stop. We have every morning a little bit off of this timeline, and then die. We have everyone moving a little bit off of this timeline, and then they die. They go up here to the third plane, take a look at what they have, and they are coming back to this timeline. So I guess that's when your soul leaves your body and goes wherever it goes and gets reincarnated again, according to this teaching. You are stuck. No one can get past their image. Only a few are breaking away, going out here to the fourth plane. And as they move past this God problem, they get out here and they start becoming spiritual. And they are reaching deep within the source and manifesting it down here to the first plane. Who is Christ? One who finishes the timeline and goes home. Turn to your neighbor and explain. So that was a little bit from chapter 3. I don't know if it made any sense, but I'm trying to get a feel for what Ramtha is saying. And there's more I have to do on this video. We have another hour to go. So I'll read from some other sources on slightly different issues. And like I said, I've made several videos from several different entities channeled by mediums and psychics. Whether it's Jane Roberts or Lee Carroll with Cryon, or J.C. Knight here with Ramtha, and Nancy Leader channeling from these Zetas, the Palladians, Barbara Marciniak. I really want to dig into this channeled material, these beings from some invisible reality, the spiritual world. What are they saying to people, and what are they teaching? What are people listening to on all those YouTube videos and courses they go to and books that they buy? What is this new philosophy, this new religion, this new age, this new world order? Is it something good for us, or is it something bad for us? Should we consider that? I watched one of the Ramtha videos, started on July 8th. That would have been on Saturday, looking at my computer. And I take notes. So I thought I'd kind of look at my notes and talk about it for the second hour of this video, so we can get an idea of what these entities, channeled from some other plane of existence, the other side, the invisible reality, what are they telling us? What is this new school of teaching? Why do they say the old ways, the old religions, Christianity, Jesus, apparently even Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, I don't know. Why do they say the old ways are no longer useful? What do the new ways teach us? Is this part of the deception, propaganda, to get people to swear allegiance to some new god and get rid of the old gods? Is this part of the Antichrist, Luciferic religion, Satanic religion? We can see from the symbolism everywhere in the public arena, even that ceremony for the opening of a tunnel in the Swiss Alps. If you haven't seen it, go watching it. The opening ceremony. Quite bizarre. Beings on a flat car of a train. Humans dressed in skin-tight clothing material, so it appeared like they were naked. They probably would have done it naked if they thought they could get away with it. And all over the top of the train, as it slowly moved past the audience, they were all groping each other like they were in a sexual orgy. What is going on? And I could give many more examples, but if you've been watching my videos, you've heard many of them. Alright, so Ramtha had a video here, Divine Intervention and Free Will, published October 27th, 2008. Wow. I watched it on 7/8/2017. And it's about from the Ramtha's School of Enlightenment, the Spiritual Journey. In the concept of free will, in a time when Earth, the whole planet, is facing extermination, there is a coming of these civilizations, these greater beings, to begin to plant and pick out the people they are going to keep, that they are going to help to get out of here. So a planetary extermination, and some of these greater beings are coming to select some of us to get us off the planet. 2008. They implant them. They know them. They follow them. There's plenty of people out there who have been abducted. Plenty of people who said that they've been implanted. What's going on? And there is a huge, huge effort to save a lot of beings in an effort called Divine intervention. And divine intervention is to gleam from any planet to divine between the two countries, friends of God, and which one wins and which one loses. So I guess they want to find out who are the friends of God, who should they save. Let's say there's a war between Russia and the United States. Russia's a Christian country, you know. So who is God going to choose to win and lose if this is divine intervention? I'm just reading my notes that I took from watching the video, trying to make sense of this conversation. So which one truly gets the victory? Where does the right to live? Whose hand does this sit in? The most righteous? And who are the most righteous? Those who respect the free will of other beings and those who don't. The free will of other beings. Well, I'm aware of Aleister Crowley teaching, do as thou wilt. I guess that's free will. And it appears that he got the information from some gray alien-looking being called Hiawas or Lamb. And the material is quite sinister and satanic in nature. And so this is saying here, the ones who are going to get saved are the ones who respect free will. And of course they're calling Christian haters now because they don't approve of gay marriage and pansexualism and transgenderism and other issues going on in the world, the New Age, with all of the anarchy and chaos, even in movies and programming, and this paradigm shift taking place on Earth. So I suppose if you do embrace the New Age and the New World Order and all this seemingly insane behavior, so what is this Ramtha being teaching? Again, I'm not trying to judge which way it goes. I'm not there yet. But I am reading the words here. This is what I wrote down from watching the video. Whose leaders are strong, immovable, and fearless, fight for their people and their liberty, they are the side we are on. Liberty. So isn't liberty one of the key words in the Freemasonry material? Progressiveness. They're saying the conservatives are the enemy. So I've made my notes here. Who's Ramtha talking about? The Zionists? The Jewish people? Who's promoting all these communistic ideas? This change away from Christianity and other religions. Least we not forget the bombing to smithereens, all those towns and cities and facilities all over the Middle East, almost every country surrounding Israel, killing millions of people, and then the rest of them, they are moving out of there into Europe and the United States, Canada, South America. This is all planned. So does it have anything to do with these channeled entities, spiritual realm? Those who move to enslave personal liberty, to enslave free will, they are the ones they take down. So I guess if you're stuck with being a decent person and not being interested in pansexuality and watching other countries slaughter whole groups of people, like in Syria, Iraq, and this planned New Age, New World Order, FEMA camps, microchipping people, depopulating the planet, sky spraying chemicals on us, microwave transmissions with HARP transmitters, Gwen towers, cell phones, and so much more, flat screen TVs with flicker rates that cause mesmerism and mind control. So all around, there is a quickening that's going on right now. It's right up there, above here. It's right up above here. It always seen by the military, by the way. So there's a quickening going on. It's above us, maybe in the atmosphere, maybe in orbit. And the military, by the way, is aware of it. Just reading my notes from watching a video. You can go watch this video. But you just got to pay attention. When you start watching a video, you don't catch. You have to have your mouse in your hand. And pause almost at every sentence and write it down and contemplate it. That's what I do. Because you don't catch these little things. To find those people to help them through and to help them through, because I say to you that in free will we have the right to interfere. So whoever these beings are that Ramtha is talking about, they have the right to interfere. So it says here. A person's choice. So they have the right to interfere in a person's choice. Regardless of what they did, our humanity is not stronger than our God. We see the importance of that person continuing, and you are intervened and you are helped them. And you help them unconditionally. That act of genuine help is a God act, an evolved act. And when we see that evolved act in the generosity to postpone catastrophe, to postpone the losing of one person's lifetime, to ease the burden of the person's debt. It doesn't matter. What is the greatest reward is that we did it. That's what we are after. What kind of beings are we talking about here? If we are after such an individual, imagine the kind of beings who are watching this planet and how and what level they have evolved to. They are the evolution of free will to the subscribed state of consciousness. They are so broad-minded, they think in terms of the large. They think in terms of time. In a moment, not a moment of breath, but they think in terms of life, in terms of eternity. So to them, they have evolved to a state of huge appreciation. That's who they are. That's why they get to be who they are. That's why they live with such of their kind. That's why they come from the kingdoms they come from. And they are here to find out amongst these people at this time. That's what they are looking for. And they will intervene in the destinies of those groups of people, those individuals that they care of at the time that are looming. Take care of that times that are looming. I don't know if this is making any sense to you, but I watched the video and I took notes. Let's go read page 5 now. Sometimes if you're reading your own notes, your handwriting's hard to read if you're writing fast. Now, what does this have to do with the spiritual journey? It has everything to do with it. Because as an incarnated divine beings into an instrument of flesh, people lose their way. They lose their way and become more physical and not so much spiritual. They become more cause and effect, more need to entertain. They need to become so much more. They become the animal. They become the winter in the tribe, and not so spiritual. The acts of a God are truly unlimited. They are beyond human reasoning. But you would say, why would someone like that? That person is this and that. They have a loud voice. They this and that. Why would you say they and save him? So it seems here that they're saying they're going to save a certain group of people. But apparently many of us would go, why would you save them? They're so loud. They're so obnoxious. So again, I'm getting a little mixed messages here. Who are they talking about? Are they talking about people who are supposed to be God's chosen people versus the rest of us? To say, you have to read this stuff sentence by sentence. Because the assets and virtues of that person are known to those who are going to intervene, you see. You are known, and not by what you say or what you think. Saying isn't the official cartouche of what you are. It's what you think. Saying isn't the official cartouche of what you are, it's what you think. Did I skip a page here? Now, what does this have to do with the spiritual journey? It has everything to do with it. Because, as incarnated divine beings, into an instrument of flesh, people lose their way. So I did read that. It's the inward journey. It's the inward goodness. It is in the inward kindness. It is in the inward compassion that we see and that we can see it. Not so much what you say, but what we see, and in that is the spiritual. That is in the individual, capable, remarkable thing. An act of kindness, the last given to an altar, the last shilling to the altar. So I guess if you have any serious money and you donate it all to the poor, they can see that. For God, for a prayer that could have bought a year's food given for a prayer, that's spiritual. A person helping another person. That's spiritual. A person transcending wickedness of human, chemical, cultural divisions. In the coming starlight, visionary, that's spiritual. The person transcending the physical. Strength of the body to become an immortal strength, that's spiritual. The person transcending insurmountable odds. Whether it's health, labor, addiction, overcoming insurmountable addictions, and bring a victor of their own life. That's spiritual. See if I got any more here. Alright, I watched another Ramtha video, and I'll read my notes. And I know this may all be confusing, but I think if you watch enough of these and you take notes, you can see some of the common denominators also. And I'm trying not to be biased one way or the other, but it definitely is interesting. So this video is how to create your day. Ramtha, May 6, 2016. So the other video I watched was published in 2008. Divinity gets to create. You are a divine entity. What if tomorrow you got up and said, what do I want this day to be like? It's never like the first thing you say, you don't believe. It's the third thing you say. It will be the third thing you say that will bring about the manifestation of what you say. So there are some things a lot of us are aware about. You know, you are who you think you are. If you think you're a winner, you're a winner. If you think you're a loser, you're a loser. What you think about, you bring about, so they say. I think there's a lot of truth to some of this stuff. We observe how we want a day to happen. Focus the day into being. She's saying this is part of quantum physics. Is everything we think made manifest? Yes, absolutely. Your day was going to do for you. Now you're going to do it for it. So the day was controlling you. But if you learn how to create your day, you're going to do it for it. You're going to control it. It's not going to control you. According to this teaching. To let life happen to you is irresponsible. But to create life is a divine right. We should never be the victim of anything. No matter what you think, it's going to manifest. Construct thoughts that would create the day, that would bring splendor, beauty, wellness, joy, or whatever other adventures you would like to have. Give it a try. Create your day. Channeled material by Ramtha. To create your day, you only have to want it. It's that simple. Create those things that are in the realm of your acceptance. Believing in the witches and all that trash. Whoever believes it creates it themselves. Superstitions. So she says, another person sitting next to the believe may not believe. Thus, therefore, in witchcraft will exist or affect that person. So she's saying if you believe in witchcraft, or he does, Ramtha, then witchcraft can affect you. But if you don't believe in witchcraft, it can't affect you. And I've got a problem with that. Because whether you want to believe or not, 911 was an inside job. Chemtrails, dumping chemicals in the sky is happening every day. So if you just want to go, I don't want to believe in that. And it's not going to affect me. This is a teaching I hear from a lot of people. Don't think anything negative. Don't talk about negative things. Don't discuss it with me. Leave me alone. I'm thinking positive. A lot of people are reading this stuff and following it religiously. All right, page 3. Maybe you are the one who put God in heaven. Looking at my notes here. Or maybe you created God in your image. Maybe the idea of God is not some old man sitting on a throne in some real estate called heaven and judging you. So they're trying to talk here, this channeled entity, about how you should think of God. If you put him there, then maybe, if you did, you can put him down. So if we created God, the way we think of it, these religions, we can uncreate God, so it's taught here. Of course, I am aware, so are a lot of other people, that they're really taking any kind of religion and activities and stuff like that out of the school systems. Even during the 60s and 70s, even the CIA and government organizations, the secret societies, world leaders, were introducing drugs into society, record albums, books, and movies, promoting this free will, anything goes, swingers, orgies, adultery, do whatever you want. Don't listen to those people who might say that it's not right, it's a sin. That's what it teaches. And again, I don't expect people to believe what I'm saying. You can watch this video, take your own notes, and see if I'm a little bit off, or am I totally correct? What do you think? Leave a comment below. You don't have to be rude. You can disagree, you can agree. But at least we should be thinking and talking and seeing what this new age and new world order is. This threat of catastrophe on Earth. All this fear-mongering with pole shift and Nibiru, climate change, global freezing, global warming, droughts, plagues, economic collapse. There is something going on. No mistake about that. Even all kinds of talk of the prophesized World War III. FEMA camps, Jade Helm 15, troops and equipment moved all over the USA in 2015. Were you paying attention to that? And all these movies with doom and gloom? I believe this channeled material is definitely a part of all that. Maybe you will graduate God from that mean old dreadful creature to something sublime. What about evil? Does evil exist in the world? You have had a lot of bad days and a lot of bad luck. Well, one experience deserves another. If you have one bad experience and think about it all day, you're going to get another bad experience and another and another. It's all relative. The quantum field working for you. If people are not doing what you think they should be doing, you consider them bad. Well, yeah, you take these banksters who've collapsed the economy in the USA since 1913 when they created the Federal Reserve, which is not federal, and the people who conspired to do 9/11 and conspired to bring us World War I and World War II. I think they're bad. The Israelis over there almost completing their program to have all of the Palestinians' land, the Illuminati, world control resources, and trying to force globalism on the rest of us while they want to retain their sovereignty and their nationalism. Like I said, there's something bigger going on. Who do these channeled entities represent? Why are they anti-God, calling him some old man on a throne? And we need to get rid of him. I'm just saying, critical thinking. But what if you think it's okay for them to be bad, or even for you to be bad? Then what? So now he's suggesting, if you want to be bad, go ahead and be bad. It's just an experience. You deserve free will, don't you? That's kind of a rhetorical question. Maybe people will stop being bad when it's okay, Ramtha says. It's some TV programming I can't even watch anymore. It's so bad. Then there's that other thing, superstition and all. What about all those gods? What about that? History. We keep repeating it enough. Maybe it's trying to tell us something. I do notice this. Even with Albert Pike, who was apparently channeling some kind of master. Helena Blavatsky in The Secret Doctrine and the Isis Unveiled and her material, channeling masters like Humaymi. You know, what kind of message are they delivering? Especially when, like in the Theosophist Society with Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, Annie Besant, and so many more people, created the Lucifer magazine and Lucifer Publishing Company. Who are these channeled entities representing? Are they the fallen angels, watchers? Have they infiltrated our society? I mean, if I find one nasty comment in this stuff, I mean, that's enough. The entity might be, we shouldn't be trusting it. Maybe we should dream a new life, a different life. There we go. New world order, new age. Let's get rid of Christianity, get rid of Jesus. We don't need the old religions anymore. And some of the common denominators I've been noticing in my investigation into channeling. And I pay attention to these things when I watch other channel videos and other books, and I'll be looking for this stuff. How about the age? Maybe it's the old age. Here we go. New age. You don't want to go out there and start trading your God in for some spirits who are waiting to get you. That's what it says here. Alright, let's go to the next page if I can find it. One more little bit from that video. We can rest assured we are eternal beings. Should we think about reincarnation? Yes, because it promises longevity. So I didn't complete my notes on that video, but you can go look it up. The title is How to Create Your Day, Ramtha, May 6th, 2016. Maximilian, M-I-C-L-E, is the publisher. So I think I'll finish this video with a little bit more from the Ramtha book. And again, I agree, it may be a little convoluted, but I think just absorbing it and listening to the sentences and what I'm saying may help give people a clue who have no idea about channeling. What's in these materials? What's in these books? What's in the videos? What's in the classrooms? What's in the lectures? And there are thousands of secret societies and organizations all over the world that are behind the Rainbow Coalition, the New Age, the New World Order. This paradigm shift they're trying to bring us that certainly has spiritual implications. And if you're a Christian, of course, before the coming of Jesus, the Antichrist is supposed to be here. And an apocalypse, World War III, microchipping people, the mark of the beast. So if you keep everything in the back of your mind, paying attention to all this, and it is an issue, it is quite popular. All the New Age books, I probably got a couple hundred of them myself. So chapter 4, page 187. I'm just going to read up to 30 minutes, 28 minutes, just to give me my normal 2-hour video. And see if there's some glimpses of information we can see here that makes sense. Cause us to think, what's going on here? Runners, you're going to love this. So the advanced students, remember this is Ramtha being channeled by J.C. Knight to a classroom of people. So the advanced students are mumbling amongst themselves that you are getting a lot of information with this book. This stuff that was said in a classroom. You are. And I have bypassed many details that are a nice setup for your future learning. But I like to do this in the deliverance of that which is termed this philosophy. I am sending you runners. So this Ramtha, this being from the invisible reality, being channeled through J.C. Knight, is sending these people in the classroom runners. What are runners? To help manifest it for you so that you may see it as truth. So what are these beings she's sending, these entities? So be it. Now what is a runner? An entity who brings your post is a runner. So it is an entity. An entity who rings your telly is a runner. Someone who is interacting with you or creating a situation in which the results of that interaction brings forth a specific philosophy that can be experienced in truth. So I'm going to send you a lot of runners. And the only reason I am giving you what I am giving you today is that this year in your time is leading up to some quite marvelous discoveries, and that they will happen, and you're going to remember sitting in this audience and hearing all this. And I dare say you will be looking for your papers and pencils, and you will be grabbing someone to draw these little pictures and timelines and such. So remember when I showed the little squiggly lines from the pyramidal structure in the beginning of this video? The different dimensions of frequency we operate gets wider and wider. Energy, a wave and a particle. Now we're going to leave this for a moment, and we are going to talk about energy. How many have you heard, page 188, that energy is related to the aspect of the serpent? Raise your hands. How many of you have learned that energy is related to knowledge that is represented in the serpent? Would you raise your hands? So be it. Well, it is called that because that is what a wave of energy looks like. The energy just doesn't start and end. It begins with a thought and ends with a thought. Two levels of consciousness contain energy. Now, energy moves like this. It undulates. According to whatever level consciousness is being exerted, extracted into the experience, tells us what kind of energy to expect. If we have a very advanced intelligence, indeed, if we have that which is termed an advanced level of consciousness, then what you start to feel from them are bursts of energy. Moreover, entities who have the ability to manifest their thoughts have this sort of energy radiating from them. If we have entities who are slow and sloth-like, who are definitely on this timeline, who don't care very much about life, their energy is going to be like this. Long, undulated energy, preceded and ending with thoughts and conclusions. But what does this mean, these wavy lines? When you say that an entity has wonderful energy, What do you mean when you say this? Or what is it that you mean when you say, I feel a very harmful energy coming off this person? How many of you have made that statement in your life? Raise your hands. Now that means that energy is a virgin. But it is a carrier wave of thought. It is thought in motion. So if a person has a very harmful energy, you will feel it because in their consciousness flowing through their brain, emanating in the form of the mind, and that the mind rides this field. And when you pick it up in your brain back here, your lower cerebellum, your brain deciphers this energy into fields of collective thought. In other words, it weighs it. Is this good or is this bad? Good or bad? Energy is neither good or bad. Here we go again. Energy is neither positive nor negative. It is both. And nothing is good and bad as seen in the light of all eternity. So nothing is good and bad, page 189, as seen in the light of all eternity. So in one life can you be Jack the Ripper, or the Boston Strangler, or Hitler. But in another life you might be a nice guy, so it's okay. Free will. But in order for you to be creators and gods, in order for you to be creators or gods, like I said that you are, Ramtha teaching here, then there must be something in you that would bring forth a divineness. In other words, there has got to be something more than digestion that seems to equate to your divine nature. So what is it? And I'm agreeing that I have a slight bias on some of this material, as friends of mine have pointed out. So you formulate your own opinion. Well, there is a word that is vastly underused and misused, and it is called that which is hidden. That which is hidden. That which is hidden is the sacred knowledge. And with my Freemasonry and Satanism series, this is series number 132. Got almost 350 videos posted, 500 hours. And a lot of it has shown us that there are secret societies where the members have to put their hand on a Bible or whatever religion they are and swear under threat of having their throat cut or killed in a more horrific manner if they divulge the secrets. There's the Kabbalah people, the Illuminati, initiation, illumination, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, mysticism, and so much more. Witchcraft. But what is this sacred knowledge? The sacred knowledge is that until you can uncover that which is hidden, you will never gain the sacred knowledge. But in a philosophical commentary on that, we would say then that which is hidden simply means that inside every wave of energy is a carrier field of mind, and that energy is both a particle and a wave. We've all heard this about quantum physics. And that when it starts here, it starts with an idea or a thought. When it is released, it is moving into a field and concludes as reality. So what kind of skills or knowledge can people master and gain to help them perform acts of witchcraft, mesmerizing other people, causing other people to die, remote viewing, in the propaganda, in the newspapers, in the TV, in the billboards, in the radio? Are we under attack right now in our reality? So look at the space between you and your partner. Just turn around and gauge the space between you two. What is existing in that space? Can you feel your partner's energy? How many of you can feel your partner's energy? Are they dead or alive? What is it that you are not seeing? What about between you and I? What about this space? This space is called that which is hidden. It is invisible. And the invisible simply says that the atmosphere around you, this atmosphere around you, is a field of energy that looks just like this. And in that field of energy, we have energy and potentials. Touch your neighbor on the shoulder. Now, as far as it takes to touch your neighbor on the shoulder is only the distance required to go back to the 7th level. So they're saying to go into this other dimensions, other planes of reality. Physically, we don't have to go very far. It's right here. So it takes a little time for me to kind of read this stuff and study it and put 2 and 2 together. But I am reminded that a lot of these people that go to these secret societies and get initiated and join these organizations spend years trying to go up and become illuminated, to become a master. Years. So in my simple way, I make these videos and we can get a little glimpse into what's being said here, what they're talking about. A lot of people are following all these people like Nancy Leader, Cryon, Seth, Abraham, seeing psychics, astrologers. What should we believe in? So it said here, everything that you want in your life, fabulous wealth, radiant youth, health, longevity, the energy that it takes to bring that about in your life takes less of a field than it takes to touch your neighbor's shoulder. So to learn how to manifest, to create your reality is right here. So it teaches here. And to some degree, I believe in some of this stuff. I've learned how to use a pendulum to find water. A lot of people are dowsers when people need to drill a well. People use their psychic abilities to heal people, holistic healings and Reiki. Some people are psychic. They can communicate with the other reality. All this is fine and good. My beef is when there's messages sent to the population. People are being roped in. And maybe being deceived and beguiled. We have to take that into account. So do it again and contemplate that which is hidden. Now this atmosphere down here in linear time, the atmosphere in the room, those fields that make up the elements of the earth, the solar system and the galaxy, they are made up of the same energy field in different stages of evolution. But in the same field in different stages, down here on the first plane, right where you are, contains all of this, all 7 levels of reality. 7 levels of reality. I was thinking, when I go to the Secret Doctrine, Isis Unveiled, Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky, the Theosophist Society, the Kabbalah, the Hermetic Teachings, Rosicrucianism, Morals and Dogma, I'm beginning to see a common denominator. I got a book right here to demonstrate. Using a new camera, so don't mind me peeking around the corner trying to figure it out. So what are we talking about in Hermetic teaching? Different levels of reality from the center outward. So as one can see, I've got a long ways to go in my research. What does all this Hermetic teaching mean? What does it mean about the Kabbalah? Witchcraft, sorcery, mysticism, the different levels of dimensions and planes of existence. The pyramid at the top of this picture, the sun's rays like on the $1 bill. Hermetic teaching. And even the government. Psychic spies, PSI spies, training people to leave their body. And then they talk about gloom and doom, Planet X, Nibiru coming, the elites, the ones into the secret societies, building underground facilities so that they can survive. The ultimate weapon, terrorism, world order. Look at the books. Aleister Crowley was, in his Book of the Law, which is seemingly pretty clear, is all satanic, luciferic, the devil. He was channeling a being called Hiawas or Lamb, and they looked like this. Alright, my phone just rang, but let me try to finish up this video. Let's look at a couple more books. So what's going on with UFOs, apparently alien beings, disclosure programs, HAARP microwave transmitters, the ultimate world conspiracy, intruders, the incredible visitations at Copley Woods. What's going on? We have all these different bits of activity coming from different directions. Legislation by the government with the Patriot Act, passage of Noahic laws, terrorism activity, threats of global warming, sustainability, threats of World War III, channeled material, trying to discredit Christianity and other religions, destroy the people's countries in the Middle East, most of them, and plans for a new world order, a new age, Hunger Games movie type of reality. It's just a lot to talk about. And thank you for watching my video. I'm taking a stab at this channeled material. I did have my main camera that I use break down, so now I'm using an old cell phone camera. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. I like thumbs up. Rick Miracle reporting.